Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. You're watching P3, the place where we feature individuals who have tapped into their power, passion, and purpose. I'm your host, Janie Terrazas, and today I'm very excited to be featuring the wonderful Rebekah Shipp. She's a success coach, and she also is the creator of an awesome podcast called Girls Guide to Greatness, which I'm going to be a guest on very soon. Thank you so much, Rebekah, for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Janie. I'm so glad we were able to connect. It's been years. We used to be neighbors, and now it's like...
I know, seriously, and it's so great that we're reconnecting again.
I love it.
And I know that we have a very similar mission in that we're here to help people that are wanting to live optimally. So as a success coach, you know, you've been through a lot of trials and tribulation yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to hear what power, passion, and purpose mean to you. And I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about your journey and what you do to nurture yourself, because self-care obviously is something we all need to be making a priority, and especially now with everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I love the fact that I'm here. So I really am thankful, Janie, to be on the show. And yes, oh my gosh. So in order for me to become a success coach, to be able to teach other people how to live optimally, how to get what they really want out of life, there is no way I would have been able to do that unless I had conquered my own demons first. I had to get my mind right and my life right first before I was able to teach someone else, right? And so that's what I did. I was on a mission, and I've always been very mission oriented and very hardcore about getting the life that I truly want, because I come from a very poor background, and it was always, lack and poverty and working so hard to make it to the next level and making ends meet. I hate that line, and I knew I wanted something different, but I didn't know how exactly much I wanted it until I knew I was going to have my baby girl, Jessica. I'm a young mom. I had my daughter at 19 years old, and I was completely clueless. I was lost and uneducated. And so I knew that I didn't want my daughter to grow up in a world that I grew up in. And so I hit it hard. I turned my life around. I went to school. I got a career. I crushed it on every level. I became a fitness trainer. I became an entrepreneur, a business owner. The journey has been amazing. And I have to tell you, Janie, the relationship that my daughter and I have today is one of the best on the planet. We're best friends. We're like sisters. And we have just this amazing relationship that came out of this long journey. And I have to tell you, it wasn't always pleasant. There's crazy stories there. But the life that I live now is because I chose not to remain stuck in my circumstance. I chose not to remain in the struggle, because it could have been so easy for me to create those excuses to say, I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. That's not for me. That life isn't for me. Lots of people struggle with that story constantly running in their head. And I knew I had to break that story, break the record, break the CD, throw it out the freaking window, and never look at it again, right? Like seriously, if I needed to start thinking differently. So this is what I did. I literally dived deep into personal development, how the brain works, how the mind works, really on a deep level. And I found out these amazing ways on how to get the life I really wanted to, have the world work for me in my favor versus against me. And it was amazing when I started opening myself up to that on every level, and not just the mind, but I'm talking about on a spiritual and emotional, which we'll get to in a second. But I saw myself evolving, and I was like, oh my gosh. And my awareness started to grow. And I have to tell you, Janie, when I was doing all of this training, I took my daughter with me. And I think that's one reason we do have the relationship we have, is because whenever I was excited about learning something, I took her with me. I took her to seminars and training sessions. We read the same books together. We watched the same documentaries together, and we were growing together. And it was the coolest thing. And so I opened up her eyes to this whole new world. And I started grooming her early on for success, grooming her early on for that, what they call a millionaire mindset. How do we separate ourselves from the masses? How do we start changing the story in our head? Because we don't get taught this in school. No one in school tells us how to deal with disappointment and rejection and struggle, how to really truly invest in your life and make it work like on every level, and how to be rich. I believe that right there is a huge one. We are so conditioned to be like sheep and just go to school to get a job, that a job sucks and they don't like it and they haven't found, like you said, the alignment of their purpose, of where they belong. And so they're so caught up in their story and their struggle and the conditioning, because it's not really their fault. This is how we were taught how to think. And but then some people were like, they realize that status quo is not really the way they should go anymore. And then, so for me personally, when I started seeing that, I started asking different questions, and I'm like, well, if so-and-so can get a better life, then I can too. And I started modeling these people, big people like Tony Robbins and, you know, these greats out there that we follow. And so I started doing that. And I started finding my purpose and my light. And I found all these really cool talents and gifts that I was given by God. And I'm like, wow, how cool is it that I'm a natural encourager. I'm a natural motivator. You know, I was a personal trainer at one point. I sold just about anything you can think of, but I've done just about everything because I was always trying to find what I call my niche and my flow, you know, trying to get into that alignment. And it took me a while to get there. And then finally, I started really seeing amazing results when I started getting on top of my A game as far as like paying attention to different parts of my life. So I started seeing the shift. And before you knew it, I was like rocking and rolling in my career. I come from a corporate background and I was crushing it. And there was really no reason for me to be unhappy. And I really wasn't unhappy. I love my life. And but the thing is that I kind of lost my fire because my daughter, she's all grown up, she's out of the house. And then, you know, it's like, well, there was nothing really pushing me to kind of, you know, go further, faster. I'm good. I'm in my comfort zone. You know, my job's good. I'm getting paid good money. Life is good. There was really nothing to kind of like me up to do anything bigger and better. And then one day I'm thinking to myself, hold on. If it's 20 years from now, Janie, if it's 20 years from now and I'm still stuck at my desk doing what I do in the same dark corner of the office, am I going to be happy? And I said, no, I have too much. There's too much light, joy, amazingness that I could share with the world. And how is that going to happen if I'm behind a desk? And so I was like, all right, that's it. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be full-time, really doing my thing on a whole bigger level. And I said, this is it. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it, right? Time is of the essence. And so I did it. I resigned from corporate at the beginning of this year. And I said, guys, I'm moving to Scotland and I'm taking my business international. See ya. And they were floored. They're like, what? You're doing what? And so it was crazy. And so I burned my ships, as they say. I said, I'm never going back. For real. And I made it a point to myself to make a deal. And so this is how I look at it, Jeannie. And everybody sees the world differently, but through the eyes of Rebekah, I see the world as, you know, God created everything. And then underneath God, he put these universal laws into place in order for it to work for us. And so when I saw it that way, I said, well, if the universal laws are in place to work for us, then that means I can ask it to do whatever I want. And I was hardcore about it. So I created this 90-day challenge off of a book I read called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. You guys have to read it. It's amazing. But I created this 90-day challenge to push myself to the next level, to get myself out of my comfort zone, off of the couch, and actually going to make things happen on a big level, to see what I was really, truly capable of. And because I saw this big life ahead of me, and I really wanted it, but I was like, how am I going to get there if I'm kind of like, in kind of okay mode, right? I had to be like on fire. And so I created this challenge. And then I said, this is the rule I'm making for myself. I said, I am willing to basically, this is what I told the universe. I'm literally talking to the sky, right? I'm like, all right, universe, this is it. This is what's happening. Okay. I'm in charge. I'm the boss. And I say, I demand, I declare, and I decree that you give me the life I want. You give me the money I want. You give me the husband I want, the love of my life, right? I demanded of this, okay? And I said, in exchange, this is what I'm going to do for the next 90 days. For the next 90 days, I will sacrifice my sleep. I said, I don't care. I will sell everything in my freaking house if I have to, but we're making this work. That's how dedicated and committed I was, Jeannie, like no doubt. And every day I brought my A game. I was like, you see what I'm doing? Do you see that? I was like, come on now, you got to deliver. You have to, I'm doing my part. You've got to do yours. And he did. God delivered, the universe delivered, whatever you want to say. And it happened so fast and furious, like freaking, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, Janie, but literally I took my business from sitting on the back burner for years, pulled it out, dusted it off, and was making from zero to my first high-end client was like, I think my first $2,000 day in less than 90 days. I made more in one day than I did in 2 weeks in my corporate job. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my effing goodness, like, oh, what did I just do? Like, it was all lining up. It was all lining up. And I loved it. I was like, oh my God, I found it. I found my niche. I found my flow. I found where I belong. And the cool thing, Janie, that I didn't even see coming was not only was I making my life the way I want, but I was impacting others on a freaking level, like a higher level I've never even expected. Like the clients that I'm working with, they are on fire for life now. This one girl she was one of my first clients. She says, Rebekah, it wasn't about the money and changing my business that you helped me with that I really care about. It's because you believed in me before I believed in myself. She lost, by the time we started working together, Janie, and during that time, she started working out more again because she's a personal trainer. She started working out again. She lost 15 pounds. She's like doing all this stuff with me. And I'm like, oh my God. So the impact that I'm having on people, sharing my light, sharing my energy, my passion, my enthusiasm for people is literally like drawing these people into my space. And I'm leaving them better off than I found them. I'm leaving them with a sense of increase. And the thing is, God and the universe will bless you for that because you're in line with universal laws, right? There's that circulation and that compensation and all of these amazing things that happen when you're in that space. That was the missing link I had over the past decade. I had been trained about it. I had, the knowledge, but I wasn't aligning myself, right? Does that make sense?
It totally does. It's like, well, first of all, there's so much awesomeness that you've already spoken. At the very beginning, you talked about taking your awareness, like noticing what you were saying, doing, thinking, everything. You were just being very disciplined and holding yourself accountable in a lot of different areas. And
yes.
Then it's one thing to have, like you said, knowledge is power. And you loved learning about how the vessel and how the mind and how it all was working. That's like the first part, is understanding the physiology and understanding psychology. You were also understanding sort of the quantum aspect of this experience, this reality. So it's one thing to have the knowledge and read books and know it, but to embody it, to be as skilled of a Jedi. You were like a samurai.
And I love that.
And you were like freaking the most badass adventurer, explorer, investigator. Yes. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm piecing these things together. What do I need to do? And you're insate with your desire, because there's unhealthy desire, because Buddhists say a desire is the root of all suffering. But it's okay to desire certain things, but what are you desiring and why are you desiring it? And you are choosing to fill yourself with so much love, because self-esteem, self-belief, self-confidence, self-discipline, self-accountability, self-responsibility, these are all part, and staying in integrity, honoring your word, all of these things. That was you expressing unconditional love for yourself, which is ultimately what God is wanting for us. And that's funny enough, that is how we bridge heaven on earth, and how we enter the kingdom. I love it. How we enter the kingdom and get our inheritance that we all are blessed with, simply for being born. That's basically what you're talking about. You're like, oh, does that make sense? It makes perfect sense that you really decided to take the designing of your life and your joy and your wellness, like totally into your hands, like 100% so. And I love that conversation that you had with the sky, with the universe. Like,
I wasn't playing around. When you're in that spot, when it's real, when you're like hardcore, you're like, man, I don't care what I look like. I don't care how stupid I look like or whatever. This has got to be serious. This has got to happen, because I already knew. I was like, you know what, Rebekah, you've always known, you've had it in you to do it. And I think we all kind of have that in us, that little thing that knows what we're capable of. We just choose not to look at it, or because it's too hard or it's too much or whatever. And I was like, I'm done. I'm so done with just being okay.
You mentioned being on fire, that fire that it nourishes. You know what I mean? It doesn't destroy, but it nourishes. It has sustenance.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
actually, that's where energy lives too, because I found out that as soon as I did that, girl, even if I wanted to go to bed on a reasonable time, I couldn't. I was so lit up. I'm not kidding you. One night, Janie, I'm not lying. This was insane. One night, I would think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was literally glowing. I felt like I could just see my if you had, seen me under a scope or something, I would just be radiating this crazy energy. And I literally laid down in bed feeling like literally vibrating. I was like, what the F? Like, I was like in this passion, this part of my life, this insanity. And I can't even put it in words, but it was like, oh my God, it's no wonder. I can see why people love what they do. Like the big players, like Tony Robbins, he's nonstop. He's always reaching and growing and doing this. And I can see why like people like him love what they do, because it literally leaves you in this state of like, holy crap. And then I'm like, at the end of my 90-day challenge, I got so into the habit of doing and coming and bringing my A game and experiencing such an amazing energy from it. I was like, I don't want to turn it off. The taps are on. I don't want to turn them off, And that's what makes me wonder, Janie, because like the people who are really super religious, and I consider myself a spiritual person. I believe in God and I follow him. I read the Bible, but I don't allow myself to get caught up in rules. I think men put so many rules on things, and we're pure energy. We're just in the vessel of a body, right? And we're all connected, and energy never dies. Energy just transforms. It just changes into something new. And people get so caught up on, like you said, the rules and all the, the shame and all this other stuff. Man, let it go. Let it go. There's a sense of surrender. Michael Beckwith says just to surrender in a good way, in a positive way, to allow good things to come into your space. And so I get fired up about this because I've realized something amazing, Janie. This is what people tend to do. And because this is what I used to do too. It's so easy for us to be like, oh, we're going to go to college and we're going to get a degree and we're going to make something of our lives. We're conditioned to think that way. We're conditioned to go and find a job in corporate and da-da-da-da-da. But so it's easy for us to think like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out today. Those normal day-to-day things that it's normal and part of our normal lives. It's okay for us to say, you know what? I'm going to step over here and I'm going to get healthy and fit and I'm going to rock it out. And I'm going to step over here and I'm going to get a new career and it's going to be amazing. But the moment we ask you to step into wealth, riches, prosperity, abundance, people shut down. They freak out because they haven't been conditioned for wealth. They haven't been conditioned to accept that God wants you to be rich. Who is making up these rules that say we have to be broke and humble and be poor to be spiritual? Who is making up the rules that say that you got to slowly build your business? Oh gosh, take your time, be careful. No, I'm building my business fast and furious, baby. The universe loves to work fast. I learned that in the movie The Secret, which I just saw for the first time. But the universe likes to move quickly. And I'm like, all right, I'm discovering all these secrets. Hell freaking yes, move quick in my favor. I'm asking, I'm begging. Come on, move it, make it happen. And people get so freaked out by that concept because maybe they feel like they can't keep up. I don't know. But don't be afraid. Don't be scared. The people who are watching this, I encourage you. This is what I do. I just literally jump in without knowing the how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know that my why is big enough and I'm going to swim fast and furious. I'm going to figure it out along the way. So I say, just jump in and figure it out along the way. And the one reason that this is going to work for you is because you've already discovered your passion and your purpose. I keep my vision in front of me. I say this all the time on my podcast. Keep your vision in front of you because that is going to help you remain focused. Because what happens in our day-to-day lives, you've got all these distractions in one ear and you've got all these things over here in the other, and you want to like turn these different ways. And you're like, no, your vision is right here. This is what you really want. Let's make this happen and shut everything else down. So the reason I'm on social media is not because I'm being social. The reason I'm on social media is to reach people, to share my light, to expand my business. I'm on there to make things happen, to leave the world better than I found it in my own space, right? And so I think that people get caught up in all these rules. Man, shut those rules down. It's time you make the rules. What do you want to say? I say, my rules, these are my rules, Janie. My rules are that I'm smart. I'm brilliant. I'm a freaking creative genius. Everyone is a creative genius. I said, I am like courageous. I'm fearless. I am strong. I am powerful. I am whoever I say I am. I can make a tree move if I tell it to. Get up, tree, move over there. Like, people, I think, have forgotten how truly powerful they really are. And but if you don't practice it, if you don't I speak these words, I speak them, I feel them, I live in them. Even on those days when I'm like low energy, I will still pick up my vision. It's written, and I will say it out loud. And the reason, Janie, is because, like I said, it's so easy for us to slip back into old habits and old comfort zones. And I know myself, and I've been there, and I don't want that again. So I'm being very careful and intentional about how I speak to myself, the people I surround myself with, and making sure I keep my eyes on my vision.
You said the word intention. It's attention, intention, and you are also being very conscious of where you put your energy and how you're taking care of yourself, because I'm right there with you in that when you have aligned with your power, passion, purpose, when you are utilizing the talents and interests and passions and finding a way to use them to feed yourself as well as feed others, it's so energizing. It's palpable as you elevate and expand your consciousness and your openness to receiving and giving of love. It does literally energize you from the inside out, and you will feel, that's what they say, there's good vibrations.
Oh, yeah.
You vibrate at a certain frequency, and each time you do that, you can feel it in the body. It's assimilating, acclimating to all of this new light. It's more light, more energy. You know what I mean? It's like a surplus. So what do you do to take care of Rebekah? Because I know your daughter's already a little bit older, so you're not, having to deal with a youngster.
Yeah.
But you are giving of yourself to a lot of your clients. So what does that look like for you?
That's a great question, Janie. Yeah, I have to tell you that before, when I was in the corporate world, girl, I love some me time. I love it. I go to spas a lot. I'm always in a spa. I'm always, getting my hair done. I'm always doing all this stuff. I love self-care. I actually wrote a book about it last year called the 10 Pounds Down, 10 Years Younger. And, but I'm big into self-care because I know that it's important. It's so vital, especially with parents that, with moms, they give so much of themselves every single day. They give to their job, they give to their spouse, they give to the kids. And at the end of the day, they have nothing else left to give. They're completely wiped, and they wonder why they don't have the motivation to do something else, or, to want to even do something else. I always say, how can you give 100% if you're not at 100%, right? So I've been preaching this for a very long time, but then with my business, I'm so on fire, I don't want to stop. And so I was literally going for almost 4 months straight. I was 3.5. I had hit 3.5 months going full time. I'm talking about working close to 17 hours a day, nonstop, no breaks. And I took, I think, maybe one break. When I hit my 90 days, I took a break there. But I kept going full force because I told myself, I'm in the zone, and I don't want to let that go, because I know how important it is. When you grab a hold of motivation and momentum, you don't want to let it go, right? But then what happened is that I found that there was a day that I just felt completely wiped. And I was like, oh God, it finally happened, right? I need to pay attention to making sure I schedule those days off, even if it's just one day. And I did. I told my clients, I said, hey guys, I'm taking the Wednesday off. I won't be available. I shut everything down. Oh, I so needed that day. It was so good. And it's so hard sometimes to be like, so you said, still and in the moment, but it was so much what I really needed. And I realized, all right, Rebekah, we need to make this a normal routine to take off, a day when you need to. And so I've actually started putting that into my schedule, because what I do with my clients, you're exactly right, Janie. I love what I do. I have a passion for it. And in doing so, I put my whole heart and my spirit into every single client and to every single project I work on. I take a lot of pride in my work. And so when I'm working with my clients, because it's not just coaching that I do with them, it's also design work. So I do all I help them with the techie part of it, getting their business up online and working with them on websites and integrations and all the fancy talk, And so when I'm doing this, I've noticed that they're so great. I love my clients, but sometimes they'll call me when we're not scheduled for a call, but I don't care. If I have time, I will take them. I will say, hey guys, what's going on? That just literally happened just a couple of days ago. I didn't get one client call, but I got another one. It was back to back, out of the blue. This was not scheduled. on a Saturday, on probably a day that I probably should be taking off, but I wasn't. I was working, making things happen. And guess what? I had the perfect time to talk with them. And then I took that, I took advantage of it. And the thing I noticed you had said too, I think you mentioned this before we got on the interview, but I believe that we get what we put out. And if I have the time to give, I'll give it. This is not going to always be the case because I see myself going into a space where I'm not going to be as available later on. But if I have that availability now, I'll take advantage of it. And I believe that if I'm going to have, if I'm giving out my best and I'm giving the attention to my clients, even on a non-scheduled day, they're going to see that. They're going to say, look at me differently. Rebekah, she's not all about the dollar. She's really wanting to help us and move to a different place in our lives. And so that right there sticks with people. That's what I really love about what I do, because when I connect with my clients, I'm able to show them that I'm in this for the same reason they are, to get to a better place in their lives. And so it's really neat to see that. And so I do give a lot of myself, but I have learned to take some time off for Rebekah, because I do want to be able to bring my best. I want to be able to shine the brightest that I can be. And I can't do that if my light is starting to dim a little bit, if I'm giving too much of myself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are operating from a place of authenticity and purity. It's
Right.
the intention's so pure and it's so good because you really are like just wanting to serve God in the way that He's designed you to serve. And I think it's beautiful. I know you mentioned earlier that you had the courage to leave your other job and now your business is flourishing and you're such an adventurer and an explorer. You saw yourself, you envision yourself traveling and doing the work that you love and being able to travel to different places. So you're moving to Scotland. Anytime we go through change, a lot of people fear change. So what's one way that you sort of reframe change so that it looks and feels exciting?
You ask great questions because a lot of people deal with that, with fear of change. And I always say change is going to happen anyway. You might as well, be prepared for it. A change, it's inevitable. Our beings are created for constant change. If you actually really look at our history, it's amazing what the human being can do. I mean, we're literally developed and engineered to grow and expand, to reach, to innovate, to build, to create, to use our imagination. We have an imagination for a reason, right? And so the thing is, if you feel like you've been conditioned with fear for too long and you just don't know how to step through, you were trained to be that way, so you can train your way out of it. This is the way I think, right? So if you're trained into being stuck, you can untrain yourself. So it's all about training. It's all about asking those questions. Ask a better question to see, like you said, to trigger your brain to figure out a solution. To every problem, there is a solution. So that's what I would say. And then I actually did a course on this last year, that my top 9 things on how, I won't go over all of them, but there are 9 ways you can get over to fear. But I have to tell you guys, one of the biggest ways that I learned how to get over fear, and this is something that worked really well for me, and it might work really well for you guys listening. But, and this takes practice, just like anything else. It takes training, constant, paying attention, being intentional, right? So the first things I realized was when I was young in my career, I had an issue at work where I had to go in and talk to my boss, and girl, I was, timid. All right, you see me now as this amazing, powerful woman. Girl, back then I was this little tiny, quiet, little mouse of a girl. And I was like, oh God, I got to go talk to my boss. I don't know what the subject was, but I was freaking the freak out. And I'm like, oh good God, what am I going to do? I was scared to death. And I said, all right, Rebekah, this is only 2 minutes of your life. You can do it. And what I did is I gave myself a countdown. And I said, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go in and do it. And I'm going to just hope for the best. I did exactly that. And girl, guess what happened?
You
Nothing.
got a promotion. Oh. I was like,
promotion, that's good. Later on, I got a promotion. But no, nothing happened. The world didn't come to an end. I didn't die. I didn't get hurt. Like I didn't get laughed at. Nothing happened. And I'm like, oh, I was like all worried for nothing. And so people get so caught up in the what if and oh God and the uncertainty. And it's like, guys, just jump, just count to 3, do it. Yeah. And I promise you, this is what I always say. I give them a visualization. Imagine a door in front of you that is marked with the big word fear. And all you got to do is open it up and cross the threshold. that door might look super scary, but beyond it is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. It's awesome. That's the place you want to be, but you just got to open the door. Just open the door. So it takes practice. So from that moment on, I knew, I was like, oh God, okay, well, it's not as bad as I thought. So every time I came up in a situation where I felt like I was, oh God, getting kind of nervous and scared, take a deep breath, recenter yourself. It's okay. And remember, you're not alone. You're never alone. We're all connected. We're all spiritual beings. God is always with us. And I said, God, and now I say, God, go before me, show me favor, protect me, watch over me, give me the right words to say, help me show up in a way that I can, it's beneficial for both parties or whatever. And every time, Janie, I say that prayer, it always works out for me. It's crazy. And so I ask people to just trust in God, trust in themselves, trust in others, and trust in the process, because you're going to grow from this. Fear actually, fear and all those things, they're there for a reason. They help us grow and to expand. Life would be so boring if everything was so easy breezy, right? And so accept it. Just learn to play around with it, learn to have fun. That's what I'm learning to do now is like, when I see a challenge or I'm in an uncomfortable moment, uncomfortable means it's an opportunity for growth. David Goggins actually says that that change doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in challenge. So when you're challenged with something, embrace it and see what you can learn from it. So for me personally, that's what I do. But I've done this for so long. I've conditioned myself to be fearless that now it's like so easy for me to be like, oh yeah, no big deal, when other people are looking at me like I'm freaking crazy, And so I've moved around the country before. I've had, I used to be a contractor, so I would go where the money goes. So I would move around a lot. I was a single mom, and that right there takes a lot of courage to move forward and do things. So I was constantly in these positions to where I had to overcome these challenges or different situations, and it made me who I am today. So now I'm strong enough that I get to share it with other people and coach them on how they can become strong too. How cool is that?
I love it. And, everything that you've been talking about really is about mindfulness. It's about being mindful. So you really have taken control of your mind, of your heart, of your body, of your soul.
Yes.
And
now, I have to say, Janie, though, just to add on to that. Now, this doesn't make me feel like I'm just unconquerable, that I'm going to just go out there and put myself in danger's way on purpose. Right. I'm going to make sure I make that clear, because there is danger. Danger is real. Almost like Will Smith said, danger is real. Fear is something we can control. So yes, I'm going to be smart when I travel the world as a young female traveling the world by myself. I will be smart and aware, but I'm not going to allow fear to hold me back, if that makes sense.
Yes, it's finding the nice balance and knowing when something is sort of a self-created, perpetuated danger versus something that actually is. Yes. And you have learned how to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's a big part of life, is when you can do that, you can experience so much more. And that's why you're so exuberant and you have all this like awesomeness.
I love it.
Because you have a love affair with life, even though things aren't always going to be easy. It's not this idea and this attitude that you're just like, oh, everything's perfect. And when something horrible happens, you're just pretending that it's not. It's not about that. It's about facing fears, leaning into the discomfort, understanding that when things like this happen, they are opportunity for lessons and growth. So
absolutely.
I love your mind. I love your mindset.
Thank you.
And I love your heart. And I really appreciate you being with us today.
Yes, this is fun.
Yeah. So let others know how they can get in contact with you and learn more about your services and anything else that you would like to share with them.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. They can just look me up on social media, Rebekah Shipp, SHIPP. I'm all over social media. You name it, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, the Girl's Guide to Greatness podcast. And actually for those people who are listening, your audience, I'm giving out a free consultation call. So if those people out there who are struggling, if they're stuck, or if they even been just thinking about, doing an online business, I'm here for them. Let's get on a phone call. Let's chat. There's no obligation. There's no pressure. It's just a chat. And they can find me at lifeelevatedcoach.com to find out more about how to get in touch with me for that free call.
Okay, awesome. I think that's great that you do that. There's no pressure and you're just there to help.
Yes, exactly.
Questions. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks, Janie. I appreciate it.
And thank you everyone for tuning in to Rise Above TV, where we are empowering humanity and supporting unity. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of P3 when we interview Jared Krebs. He calls himself a chillpreneur. He's an amazing mentor. You aren't going to want to miss what he has to say about power, passion, and purpose. Till next time, peace be in us.